Hi friends! Today I'm going to share my secrets with you of how I read over 100 books a year. And it's not as hard as you think it is. Tip number 1. Always have your next book ready. You need that baby lined up.
It's a slippery slope. Once you start going, you can't stop. You can't stop yourself. I can't stop myself. I always know it's getting bad when I check out entire series at once from the library. Like, I haven't even started book 1 and I already have book 4. So you need safety.
Tip number 2. Another fantastic way to read more books is to get bookish friends. Me making these videos has been so good because then I can start conversations with people about these books. And it's really motivated me to read more books so I can stick to my video release schedule every week. So, talk with people on the internet or join a real book club. It's about getting support, finding people who will nag you and remind you when you're slipping, finding a group of people who are really on the same regiment as you.
I'm Chloe, and I'm a reader.
Hi, Chloe.
I think the first time I was hooked, it was Magic Tree House. Kind of stereotypical, I know, but that's how it started. And from there, it just went on to things like Warrior Cats and Harry Potter and Percy Jackson. And I didn't think anything of it. Like, who cares if I ditch recess to shelve books in the school library? At night, I can't sleep. I lay awake thinking about books, about all the homework I should have been doing instead of reading books. I used to be satisfied with the cheap hits, you know, just chasing the next love triangle like Twilight and Hunger Games and War and Peace. But those don't satisfy me anymore.
Tip number 4, be sure to set goals. Goals are important in all parts of life, but especially with reading books. How many books can you read this week, this month, this year? And make sure it's a number that will stretch you. This month, I'm planning to read 15 books, and I am so excited for this wild ride. A lot of them are buddy reads to really help me stay on schedule. But really, your best tool is going to be the website that helps you track all your books,
Goodreads. And I never realized how bad it had gotten until I started tracking it, you know? I checked my progress for reading books for the year, and it was 22 books. This was February. There had only been 45 days in the year. And before I saw that number, I knew things were bad, but I had never realized that things were out of control. When I tell people that I'm addicted to reading, they congratulate me. Like, people who read succeed. Is that what you would be saying to someone if they had just confessed their World of Warcraft obsession with you? Their Netflix addiction? Their Cheeto addiction? No, because we all know how quickly those things can destroy your life. But with books, it's all fine, well, as long as you don't read that trashy fan fiction stuff. People think that me saying, I am completely addicted to books, is some kind of humble brag? I'm so fancy that even my obsessions are better than your hobbies. It's a cry for help. There are 168 hours in a week. But last week I fell into a temporal wormhole and read 311 hours of audiobooks. But I don't really have a problem, right? I mean, reading is the best habit to have after exercise and downing protein shakes.
Tip number 5. So, a really common piece of advice is to always be reading multiple books, but this hasn't ever really worked for me. Personally. If I'm reading more than one book at once, it feels like I'm cheating on my book with my other book. Like, I think the root of that advice is just to not get tied down to a single book that you don't like so that it stops you from reading altogether. I say, if you don't like a book, just DNF it. Do not finish it, because there are too many good books to be wasting your time on the mediocre ones. And just because it's a classic and everyone loves it doesn't mean you have to. I've started and DNF'd The Lord of the Rings 4 separate times because every few years I want to be part of these cool Tolkienites who are like totally my people, and then I start reading the book and then I remember how incredibly boring it is and DNF it with no guilt. Well, I guess then a few years later I feel the guilt and try again. But the point is, don't feel that guilt, just DNF it. Just be done. Doesn't matter. I've DNF'd Dune 3 times. Same story. I've DNF'd Green Eggs and Ham 27 times. You don't have to cling to a book if it's not making you happy. It's okay to give up. It's easy.
The hard part is giving up books altogether. I mean, I know I should quit, or at least read only in moderation. I could delete my e-reader app. But you know what? It scares the bejeebers out of me. Because the times when I'm really happy is when I'm reading. And take that away, and what's going to be my life? Like, my habits haven't changed, but my awareness of them has. Sometimes I wish I could go back to being that Chloe that was just happy with reading books. I didn't realize what a problem it was, but you know, the first step is to admit there's a problem. Sometimes I'm strong, and I'm able to stop reading for a few days. Usually it's right after I finished a big book, and I look around at my life, and I realize I haven't done the laundry for 3 weeks, and my doorknob is so unused that it's got a cobweb on it, and there are 58 missed calls from my mom, and didn't I have a midterm today? But then someone recommends a book to me again, or I get bored in class, or I get a friendly notification on my phone reminding me that I sold my soul to the library, and there's no backing out now. And I slip right back into that destructive cycle. I mean, most often, I stop reading for a few days because I've just finished a book that crushed my heart, and I needed an emotional break. But then after a little rest, I get over it by rereading one of my favorites. And then everything starts up again.
There are more and less effective ways to overcome an addiction. Instead of quitting cold turkey, try to replace your addiction with something better. Improving your life can really help you get out of the cycle of destructive behavior. You can improve your life in a few different ways. 1. You can cultivate good friendships. Find friends that you can talk to about your interests. Join a support group for people like you, who will remind and nag you when you're slipping. Find a group of people who are on the same regimen as you. 2. You can find some sort of meaningful work or project, some sort of creative pursuit. For example, I've been getting really into making videos about books. You know what? Scrap that advice. Because the same advice they give you for reading more is the advice they give you for reading less. We're in a maze that doesn't have an exit, y'all. Every move you make just gets you deeper into the fandom quicksand. Clubs for people that love books too much already exist, and they're not helping anyone put their life back together after the only thing left in it is books. Do you know how to overcome a book addiction? Because the regular advice just isn't working. There's no help.
I am addicted to reading, and that's really the best advice that I can give, which is tip number 7, love reading. It's not that hard to fall in love with reading because there's a book out there for everyone. Go find good recommendations. Once you find a series or an author you love, just keep going. You can fall in love with reading for the rest of your life. You never have to leave it because there are always going to be good books waiting for you. So, hopefully some of these tips have helped you. Comment below with your favorite tips on how to read more. Happy trails!